Yes, it's June 15th, 2025. And we're studying Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 8, Text 1. So we're starting a new chapter today. We're going let's call it deliberately, in our Bhagavatam reading. I think we're Chapter 7 for more than a year. And so we're starting a new chapter today entitled Manifestation of Brahma from Garbhodakashai Vishnu. It's a continuation of the discussions between Sri Maitreya and Mahatma Vidura. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 8, Text 1. Maitreya Uvacha.
Maitreya Uvacha.
Satsevaniya.
Satsevaniya.
Bata.
Bata.
Guru Vamsha.
Guru Vamsha.
Yat.
Yat.
Lokapala.
Lokapala.
Bhagavat Pradhan.
Bhagavat Pradhan.
Babu Vita.
Babu Vita.
Iha.
Iha.
Ajita.
Agita.
Kirtimalam.
Kirtimalam.
Pade Pade.
Pade Pade.
Nutanayasi.
Nutayasi.
Abhikshanam.
Abhikshanam.
Maitreya Uvacha.
Maitreya Uvacha.
Satsevaniyo Patapurvamsho.
Satsevaniyo Patapurvamsho.
Yalokapalo Bhagavat Pradhana.
Yalokapalo Bhagavat Pradhana.
Abhuvite Hajita Kirtimalam.
Abhuvita Hita Kirti Malam.
Epate Nutana Yasya Bhikshnam.
Pade Pade Yukta Yasya Abhikshanam.
Maitreya Uvacha.
Maitreya Uvacha.
Satsevaniyo Patapurvamsho.
Satsevaniyo Patapurvamsho.
Yalokapalo Bhagavat Pradhana.
Yalokapalo Bhagavat Pradhana.
Babhuvite Hajita Kirtimalam.
Babhuvite Kirtimalam.
Pade Pade Nutanaya Syabhikshnam.
Pade Pade Nutayanas Abhikshanam.
Maitreya Uvacha.
Maitreya Uvacha.
Satsevaniyo Patapurvamsho.
Satsevaniyo Patapurvamsho.
Yalokapalo Bhagavat Pradhana.
Yalokapalo Bhagavat Pradhana.
Babhuvite Hajita Kirtimalam.
Babhuvita Kirte Malam.
Pade Pade Nutanaya Syabhikshnam.
Pade Pade Nutana Abhikshanam. Maitreya Uvacha.
Maitreya Uvacha.
Satsevaniyo Patapurvamsho.
Satsevaniyo Patapurvamsho.
Kapalo Bhagavat Pradhana.
Yalokapalo Bhagavat Pradhana.
Babhuvit Icha Kirti Malam.
Babhuvite Hajita Kirtimalam.
Pade Pade Nutanyasi Abhikshanam.
Pade Pade Nutanaya Syabhikshnam. And Nandini, would you like to lead the chanting of the verse?
Yes. Maitreya Uvacha.
Maitreya Uvacha.
Satsevaniyo Patapurvamsho.
Satsevaniyo Patapurvamsho.
Yalokapalo Bhagavat Pradhana.
Yalokapalo Bhagavat Pradhana.
Babhuvite Hajita Kirtimalam.
Babhuvite Hajita Kirtimalam.
Pade Pade Nutanaya Syabhikshnam.
Pade Pade Nutanayasya Bhikshna. Maitreya Uvacha.
Maitreya Uvacha.
Sri Maitreya Muni said,
Sri Maitreya Muni said,
Satsevaniya,
Satsevaniya,
worthy to serve the pure devotees.
worthy to serve the pure devotees.
Bata,
Bata,
oh certainly.
oh certainly.
Puruvamsha,
Puru Amsha,
the descendants of King Puru.
the descendants of King Puru.
Yat,
Yat,
because
because
Lokapala,
Lokapala,
the kings are.
the kings are.
Bhagavad Pradhana,
Bhagavad Pradhana,
chiefly devoted to the personality of Godhead.
chiefly devoted to the personality of Godhead.
Abhuvita,
Abhuvita,
you are also born.
you are also born.
Iha,
Iha,
in this.
Ajita,
Ajita, the Lord who is unconquerable.
the Lord who is unconquerable.
Kirti Malam,
Kirti Malam,
chain of transcendental activities.
chain of transcendental activities.
Pade Pade,
Pade Pade,
step by step.
step by step.
Nutanayasi,
Nutanayasi,
becoming newer and newer.
becoming newer and newer.
Abhikshnam,
Abhikshanam,
always.
always.
Translation. The great sage Maitreya Muni said to Vidura, the royal dynasty of King Puru is worthy to serve the pure devotees because all the descendants of that family are devoted to the personality of Godhead. You are also born in that family, and it is wonderful that because of your attempt, the transcendental pastimes of the Lord are becoming newer and newer at every moment. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The great sage Maitreya thanked Vidura and praised him by reference to his family glories. The Puru dynasty was full of devotees of the personality of Godhead and was therefore glorious. Because they were not attached to impersonal Brahman or to the localized Paramatma, but were directly attached to Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Welcome.
Naresh.
Naresh. Oh, Naresh. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. Welcome, Naresh.
Thank you.
We're studying Srimad Bhagavatam.
Oh, great.
And third canto, 8th chapter, text 1. Because Vidura is one of the descendants of that family, naturally he engaged in spreading wide the ever-new glories of the Lord. Maitreya felt happy to have such glorious company as Vidura. He considered the company of Vidura most desirable because such association can accelerate one's dormant propensities for devotional service. Okay, so to continue to create auspiciousness in our gathering, I'll recite some other mantras. Om Angana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayamupa Kadamayam Dadati Sva Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavams Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganaraganatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitan Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitams Cha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatu Yubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyeva Cha Patitanan Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Sarasvati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 8, Text 1. Maitre Uvacha Satsevanyo Patapurvam Sho Yalokapalo Bhagavat Pradana Babuvite Ajitakirti Malam Pate Pate Nutanaya Sebhikshnam. The great sage Maitreya Muni said to Vidura, the royal dynasty of King Pru is worthy to serve the pure devotees because all the descendants of that family are devoted to the personality of Godhead. You are also born in that family, and it is wonderful that because of your attempt, the transcendental pastimes of the Lord are becoming newer and newer at every moment. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim sarasvatim vyasam tato jayamu dirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should first offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayana, to Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nashta Prayeshva Bhadreshu Nicham Bhagavata Seveya Bhagavat Yutamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So we're starting a new chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. And so, it's like there's Bhagavad Gita. And Srimad Bhagavatam, it's the natural sequel. It's the natural follow-up to Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita, it's really like the essential cream and synopsis of all the Vedas, and it includes all yoga paths and philosophical paths and varnashram. It's all there, and all the paths lead to the conclusive instruction in Bhagavad Gita: Saradaman Parit Yagya Mame Kam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tvam Sarvapapebhyo Mokshayishami Ma Shucha. Krishna says to Arjuna, okay, give up all these paths and just surrender unto me. Pure bhakti, pure devotional service unto Krishna. And then Srimad Bhagavatam, it's 18,000 verses, and it's the first line of the first verse is Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord, Sri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, O all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. So it's an epic treatise on bhakti, on devotional service. And so here in this first verse, and it's kind of common at the beginning of a section of Srimad Bhagavatam, that the speaker will express like joyful appreciation for the opportunity to get to speak on these most wonderful topics. So in the previous verse, the previous chapter is entitled Further Inquiries by Vidura. And so Maitreya is starting here saying like, yeah, like this is so wonderful. This is so wonderful. It is wonderful that because of your attempt, because of your attempt, the transcendental pastimes of the Lord are becoming newer and newer at every moment. Towards the beginning of the second chapter of the first canto, the very first chapter is questions by the sages in Namisharanya, holy place in India, Namisharanya. It's described, it's the hub of the universe. And so the sages ask the questions in the first chapter, which really become the subject matter for the next 12 cantos. And at the beginning of the second chapter, Sutta Goswami, who's the speaker there, says, Munayo Saruprishtoham Bhavat Bir Lokamangalam Yat Krita Krishna Samprashno Yayatma Suprasidati. Says your questions are glorious and they're relevant for the true welfare of everyone because they relate to self-realization and Lord Sri Krishna and Lord Sri Krishna. And it's described also in Bhagavad Gita like Sankhya Yoga, Sankhya, the yoga of analysis and cultivating knowledge. It's like searching for the root. And Bhakti Yoga is watering the root. And so if we water the root of the tree, it means we've found the root. To water includes finding the root. And so bhakti is like bhakti, pure devotional service. It's like watering the root of the tree. And then we're nourished, and all living entities, all races and species and nationalities and political ideas, all spirit souls, they're nourished. And then that's what it means to like serve everyone, not just in a sentimental way. So to water the root of the tree. So in reading this first verse in purport, I'm reminded that right now I'm experiencing the after effects of yesterday. Rosa, this is Bhaktin Rosa.
Right.
Yeah. And Naresh, nice to meet you. We've had some email correspondence.
Yeah.
Yes.
I actually, last night only I saw that email.
Yeah. Okay. You got last night.
So one day we'll read, yeah.
Very glad you're here. Very glad you're here.
Thanks for that.
And online we have Anandini from Switzerland and Anasuya from Gainesville. Okay. Yeah. And you're based in Gainesville?
Yeah, Tioga.
Okay, town of Tioga, nearby.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming by, Naresh. Yeah, so Rosa hosted a Bhakti Yoga program at her home, and this verse reminds me of that. Anasuya was there. I mean, by the end, including children's, probably about 30 in-person guests and several more online. It's very ecstatic. It was very ecstatic, and including philosophical discussion, chanting japa, ecstatic kirtan led by our neighbor Parampara and his sons and his wife. It was a whole family-led kirtan, very joyful. And then Krishna Prasadam, a beautiful Prasadam feast. So apart from the fact that like I'm remembering that, that's where this verse is about the power of association. This verse is about the power of association. And so Maitreya is so much appreciating the quality of the association of Vidura. That Vidura, he's not distracted by anything superfluous. He's distracted, he's fully absorbed in self-realization. That most vital of opportunities as spirit souls in the human form. Right? It's described, that let's describe the essential activities of all species are eating, sleeping, mating, defending. It's the essential activities of all species. So the birds do that. I just heard some chirping birds. And the cats and the dogs and the blades of grass and the trees, eating, sleeping, mating, defending. So of course, we're in this like yantra. Yantra means machine. And so, so the Vedas don't suggest that we neglect eating, sleeping, mating, defending. And they encourage us to, okay, take care of the body. It's like a vehicle. We want to take care of our car and use the bulk of our time for that activity that's not accessible for other species. Atito Brahma Jigyasa means to inquire about spirit, to ask questions like, who am I? What's the purpose of my life? Other species aren't asking that. They're just doing their eating, sleeping, mating, defending. And of course, that's what they're meant to do in God's creation. So Vidura is absorbed in Atito Brahma Jigyasa, self-realization. And as I get to the root, because it's like body's like a vehicle. We're not the body. An analogy we used yesterday. It's like there's the hardware. We're not the hardware. There's the software. We're not the software. So the hardware represents like legs and arms and eyes and ears. And the software is like subtle material elements, mind and intellect material ego. We're not the hardware, we're not the software, we're the operator of the computer. We're the operator of the computer. And so it's described in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Bhumira po nalovayu kamana buddhir evacha ahankarami ityame bina prakritir ashtada. Krishna says, earth, water, fire, air, ether, these are the external material elements, and the more subtle material elements, mind, intelligence, and false ego, ahankara. And then Krishna goes on, aparayam itaspanyam aparayam itaspanyam prakriti vidime pram jiva bhuta mahabaho yayedam dharane jagat. And then Krishna says, then there's another element. That's that irreducible quantum of consciousness. That's us. Teilhard de Chardin, French philosopher, he said, we're not human beings having a spiritual experience. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. And so the actual spiritual being, that's the spirit soul. So in our talks, in our association, in our activities, in our work, in our recreation, to really be deep, to really get at the root, means we're focusing on supporting ourselves and others to realize who we are as spirit soul. Otherwise, to use the vehicle analogy, if I'm under the illusion that I am the car, I am that Toyota Corolla I'm driving, and maybe I'm filling it up with gas and getting it washed. Okay, but let's say if you notice that I haven't eaten in days, haven't taken a bath or shower in a month. I'm not drinking water, but I think, no, I'm in good shape. Look, the roof is shiny. And you're like, oh, well, David, you're not that car. So we don't want to neglect the car. An example we give so you were recently in a program with Patrick?
Yes.
Yes, and Patrick,
yes,
okay. So you're familiar with the Sophoto mood of things. And so, yeah. So if we hear there was a car crash, do we immediately ask, oh, could you get the insurance money for the car? Could it be repaired? No. We ask, was anyone injured? Did anyone die in the crash? Because we know the driver of the car is a lot more important than the car. If we hear, oh, no one was injured, no one died, then we might ask whether it's in the junkyard or it could be repaired. So this gets to what it means to have deep conversations, deep relationship, apart from the cliche of deep. Okay, we're really getting to the root of existence. And it's described, this was kind of a theme of yesterday's discussion at Rosa's. Kshetragyam chapimam vidi sarva kshetreshu bharatak kshetragyam gyayor yataj matam yataj matam mamaha. Krishna says, okay, and then in this body, there's two persons. There's two living entities. There's the soul, then there's the Paramatma, the super soul. And so the Paramatma, that's the soul of the soul. So that gets even more fully to the root when we're looking at supporting each other to realize who we are as not the body, as spirit, soul, and to cultivate a clear, clean, receptive, devotional relationship with Source, with Super Soul, God, Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. So Maitreya here at the beginning of chapter 8 of Canto 3 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Maitreya is so appreciative that Vidura, your questions give me an opportunity to speak about this. And that's one of the seed verses of Bhagavad Gita, the seed verse that's right before the text. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam vittipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upiyanti te. Krishna says there, to one who is to one who is constantly devoted to serve me with love, I give the intelligence by which they can come to me. So, so our job is to be sincere, to serve God purely. And Krishna gives us the intelligence to do that. And the text right before that, another one of the 4 seed verses of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says to Arjuna, Machita matgata prana bodhayantas parasparam katyantas chamam nityam tushanti cha romanti cha. So Krishna talks about that those who are on the path of devotion, they derive great bliss, they derive great satisfaction associating with each other and conversing about topics of self-realization and bhakti yoga and Krishna's pastimes and the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. That the devotees of Krishna, they derive that this is the nectar of association. And so we're naturally social creatures. And so we get to choose who we're going to associate with. And that matters, because we'll tend practically always to be influenced by the quality of our association, whether it's, let's call it this in-person association, internet association. What are we reading? That's a focus of we're reading. We're associating with the consciousness of the author. You know, what are we looking at? The architecture. So just like it's like if someone's goal, if someone's goal is let's say to be a medical doctor, well, no, they're gonna associate with other medical students. They're gonna associate there. And that's going to be like a big part of their association. If someone's goal is to be a world-class Olympic athlete, they're going to associate with other athletes. Someone's goal is to just become really high-quality musician. They're going to associate with other musicians, right? Someone's goal is to make millions of dollars. They're going to associate with others. Who's making millions? I want to hear from them. I want to associate with them. I want to get that quality of association. So similarly, we're encouraged as spiritual beings having a human experience. We're encouraged to focus our efforts to make our goal, our aim, self-realization and connection with Krishna. And so then naturally, we're going to want to seek out satam prasangam mama virya samvido, or we're going to want to seek out others who are enthusiastic on that path and in that effort. We're going to seek that out. And so again, that was that's very alive for me from our program yesterday, and who you invited, Rosa, and everyone coming together and associating together in, let me say, three major things that following Prabhupada we distribute, and that's we share philosophy, give and receive, kirtan, chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, and prasadam. Right now we have a Chaitanya Charitamrita group going. I say right now, but started about 9 years ago. And we're coming to the closure. Anasuya and Anandini are participants in that group. And we do rotating facilitation. So like a different member of the group facilitates each module. And right now we're focused on an area of Chaitanya Charitamrita where it's Lord Chaitanya and his followers are just fully immersed in prasadam, the nectar of prasadam, and how this is nectar from the lips of Krishna. I mean, there's astoundingly deep realization about it's like it's not just food. Okay? then that way we dovetail even the eating process or especially the eating process in self-realization, in developing love for God. And so Maitreya is so much appreciating Vidura. And then it's natural, like, yeah, this is my goal, self-realization, Krishna consciousness. So naturally, this is who I'm eager to associate with. It's not like we're putting up walls to others, but it's just like it's very natural. Like again, if my thing is making a lot of money or sports or whatever, then I'm going to associate with them. I'm going to hear, and everyone's going to hear and chant. Our choice is what we're going to hear and chant about. And so hearing and chanting is going on all the time. Is hearing and chanting about political figures or entertainment, pop stars, or actors or actresses. Hearing and chanting. That's we're going. So who are we going to glorify? Who are we going to glorify? Who are we going to hear and chant about? So Srila Prabhupada's giving us this option. Hear and chant about Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, and make our life sublime. Make our life sublime. And so naturally, as we become more and more dedicated to this process of Krishna consciousness, naturally we want to associate with others who are similarly dedicated. And yeah, and naturally, as per Rosa yesterday, and we want to bring others into that association. We're naturally enthusiastic. No force at the same time. Sweet invitation, just like in a childlike way. A child has something they're excited about, a candy or a toy. It's like, oh, you want to play too? Yeah, I want to share this with you. So that's the mood. That's the spirit. Now, and for okay, I would say, especially at the relative beginning stages of the path, and a beginning stage can be the first week or few, or year or few, or 100 lifetimes. So, I mean, it's relative, but then that such association, it's vital. It's not optional for our advancement. Sometimes we use the example, like, because osmosis is going to happen. Osmosis is going to happen, meaning we're going to be giving consciousness and or being influenced by the consciousness we associate with. And so to the extent that we're not strong in our self-realization and Krishna consciousness, we go here and there in association, and then we're going to slide down into Rajas and Tamas. And that's why, like Srila Prabhupada, he strongly recommended for those who want to advance on the path, a strong morning program, a few hours of Bhagavatam, japa, chanting Hare Krishna, associating with others. And here, so we're associating with, like the five of us are associating right now. And we're also associating with Maitreya Muni.
Mm.
We're associating with Vidura. We're associating with Srila Prabhupada. We're associating with Srila Vyasadeva and Shukadev Goswami by studying Srimad Bhagavatam. Because every vibration from Krishna and Krishna's pure devotees, every vibration reveals truth and simultaneously is identical with the truth that it reveals. So Srila Prabhupada, Maitreya Muni, Vidura, they are 100% living and current and present in their teachings. That's what it means spiritual. Because, I mean, that could be like a common confusion. It's like, well, real association is not about this dead matter. Okay? Now, we're not minimizing being together here on internet or in person, but essential association is the spirit soul. And by definition, spirit means it's not dependent on anything physical, on anything material. That's what it means. That's what it means. It's not dependent on proximity in the same room or even the same planet or same physical universe. Now, at the same time, there's a question of how much realization do I have of Krishna's presence in every atom and Prabhupada's presence in his vibration. And so like Srila Prabhupada, he said, like when he was selling on the Jaladuta in 1965, at about the age of 70, and he had 2 heart attacks, Srila Prabhupada went through intense struggles to bring Krishna consciousness to the West. It's Krishna consciousness, it's an eternal movement. And it was kind of dormant. And Srila Prabhupada brought it to the West about 60 years ago. So Srila Prabhupada, you could say he was all alone on the ship. But in Srila Prabhupada's, no, he was always associating with his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. He was associating with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was reading Chaitanya Charitamrita. He was fully associating with them, even more vividly than we're associating with each other right now, because he's fully conscious. Yeah. And so it could be said, it's true, that in the advanced stages of self-realization and Krishna consciousness, one doesn't need such, let's call it, physical association. And at the same time, such a devotee is eager for such association. But for such a devotional soul, because they're experiencing, it's described, Stavarajangami Dekina Deki Paramurti Sarvacha Hayanija Ishta Deva Sporti. They're experiencing Krishna everywhere. They're seeing Krishna in their occupation, in their family life. They're experiencing Krishna everywhere. So they don't need to go to a temple to see Krishna. They're experiencing Krishna everywhere.
Mm.
So similarly, they're experiencing devotional association everywhere. They're experiencing Maitreya Muni, Srila Prabhupada vividly. And at the same time, such a devotee naturally would seek out the sort of association that we're having now, where it rose as yesterday. Seek out from inspiration. At the same time, if they happen to find themselves alone on a desert island, they're not like, oh no, now I'll lose my Krishna consciousness. No, chant Hare Krishna, and they're fully connected with Super Soul of Heart and with Srila Prabhupada. So it's not from need, it's from purpose and enthusiasm. All right, so the theme here is just I mentioned yesterday Sanjaya in Bhagavad Gita at the end. Sanjaya is the narrator of Bhagavad Gita, of that epic conversation between Arjuna and Krishna. And towards the end, Sanjaya says, just witnessing this conversation, I'm experiencing a thrill at every moment. So that's consciousness. Just like, oh, I'm thrilled if my team wins the game, or if I make that sale and I can get that money, then I'm experiencing. So that's like have, do, be. But be, do, have, like we're alive in service to Krishna, fulfilling our highest dharma. Then we could be brushing our teeth. We could be walking here and there. We could engage in some email correspondence. It's a thrill at every moment because we're connected in service with Krishna. And that's the life of the soul. And so today's verse that we're discussing is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 8, Text 1. Maitreya uvacha satsevaniyo bhatapurvam shoya lokapalo bhagavat pradana. Babu vite hajita kirti malam pade pade nutanaya bhikshnam. The great sage Maitreya Muni said to Vidura, the royal dynasty of King Puru is worthy to serve the pure devotees because all the descendants of that family are devoted to the personality of Godhead. You're also born in that family, and it is wonderful that because of your attempt, the transcendental pastimes of the Lord are becoming newer and newer at every moment. Hare Krishna, thanks for giving your hearing power to Srimad Bhagavatam. I welcome at this time any comments, questions, any discussion, realizations that anyone would like to ask or share at this time.
One thing you mentioned about Atma and Paramatma.
Yeah.
Atma is which is there inside us, and Paramatma is also like super soul, which is there inside us. Is Paramatma, when you say loosely, we can say Paramatma is God?
Okay, thanks for your question. Thank you, Naresh. I appreciate your question. Definitely, we can say that. Yes. And I'll just expand with a bit more nuance.
Sure.
There's really a foundational text in the Vedas from Srimad Bhagavatam. Vedanti tat tatvavidas tattvam yajgan madbayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdyate. Describes there's three aspects of realization of the absolute or God. So one aspect is kind of like the undifferentiated oneness, like the white light, let's call it, it's all one. And that's a valid realization of the absolute. A next aspect is Paramatma, God in the heart. God in the heart. And so that's an aspect of God realization. And then the most complete aspect of God realization is Bhagavan Sri Krishna. And so Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, for example, Ishvara Sarabhutanam Ridesher Junatishtati. He says, I'm situated in the hearts of all living entities, Sarvasya Jaham Ridisani Visto Matasmi Tirganam Apoanamja. Again, I'm situated in everyone's heart. And from that super soul Paramatma come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. And so at the end of the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that Yadyad Vibhuti Sattvam Srimad Orjitam Evava Tatad Eva Vagachatvam Mamatesham Sasambhava. Because Krishna has just described so many glorious creations in nature. And he says, and know, Arjuna, that all of these mighty, beautiful, and glorious creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. So that spark, that's the Paramatma. So the Paramatma, it's a full expansion of God, and it's just an expansion of Krishna. So yes. So it's an aspect of God realization. The Paramatma is it's like the expansion of Krishna that Krishna uses to deal with the material energy. Krishna himself, he's like dancing with the gopis and playing with the cowherd boys and involved with Mother Yashoda, like I said, like that. And to manage the material energy, he expands his Vishnu forms. Paramatma is called the Kshirodakashayi Vishnu form. It's kind of technical. So, like we could say, Paramatma is the super soul of the microcosmos in each atom. Because matter doesn't move on its own. It only moves when there's life inside. So the atom moves, and the electrons and the subatomic particles, because the Paramatma is there. And then there's Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. This verse, as we go, this chapter is entitled Manifestation of Brahma from Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. Garbhodakashayi Vishnu is the super soul of the macro universe, the macrocosmos. Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, Paramatma, is the super soul of the microcosmos. And then there's Mahavishnu, also known as Karanaka Kaunadaksha Vishnu is the supersoul of the metacosmos, like all the material universes.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Yesterday we gave an example, just like, okay, so we can understand from logic about the existence of the soul. Tihinosmin yata dehe komaram yovinam jara tata dehantara praptir jiras titranamuyati. As the embodied soul continually passes in this body, from childhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at the time of death.
Mm.
So the body changes, right? There's not one molecule in the body now that was there when we were 5 years old. Yet there's some constant identity that I call David, you call Naresh, you call Rosa. So that indicates that that identity is completely non-physical. That's the soul, that's the Atma. Now, again, matter doesn't move unless there's conscious spirit moving it. It's like that cushion is not thinking, I wish I was in that room over there. I don't want to be here. It's not thinking like that because it's not a conscious entity. The cushion will only move if it's a conscious entity. If I get up and say, oh, I want to move this cushion over there. Okay. Now, there's so much movement happening in the body, right? Whatever, there's digestion happening. There's the lymph system and the circulatory system and okay, there's so much happening. And even when I'm awake, what to speak of like when I'm sleeping, there's so much motion happening in the body, the brain waves and like. And one thing I know is I'm not doing that. So that indicates like I'm not conscious of all that stuff that's happening in the body. So that indicates that in the body, there must be another living entity that's paramount. Thanks for your question.
Yeah, thank
Other questions or comments? Yes. Anandini.
Thank you for your class and sharing. I like the balance you know, there's so much freedom in understanding. There's no spiritual association or association with Krishna or the pure devotee is not dependent on a place.
Yeah.
Or anything material. There's so much freedom in that. And then at the same time, there's the balance of having association as inspiration.
Yes.
And last week we had Bharat was visiting us. So we had some like-minded association. It was so inspiring and uplifting and bringing more life to Bhagavad Gita and the morning program and just, so I'm seeing, and I would feel really sad if there was just the association through sound vibration. I would really miss associating with like-minded devotees and having that exchange and that exchange of inspiration.
Yeah, you'd be sad if that wasn't part of your life.
Yes, and I'm not sure where the prayer. I think it's a prayer by Lord Shiva.
Yeah.
Where he asks if there's like one benediction he would ask for. It's to always have the association of Krishna devotees.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I appreciate that you brought this balance of both.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that, Anandini. And yes, so right. And so that's why like probably like I moved in this place 2012, so 13 more than 13 years, and I probably hosted close to 2,000 programs. With most of the morning programs, some afternoon or evening, like Rosa hosted yesterday. That's because like I value this association. I value this association, and we're energized by it. And that's the other side. I appreciate that you appreciate the balance on Andini. And we want to cultivate a consciousness such that we're not dependent on the association. And we don't want to artificially think that we're not dependent on the association in an artificial way. And we don't want to become negligent of this quality of association. Like, oh, I don't need the devotees, I'll just do it on my own. And then probably will become dry, fall down the slippery slope, slide down the slippery slope. At the same time, the epic example is Srila Prabhupada. Now, Srila Prabhupada, he was in Vrindavan, right? He was staying at a kutir at the Radha Damodar temple in Vrindavan. And in Vrindavan, like you just like everyone's Jai Radhe, Hare Krishna, like everyone's devotional association. It's the land of Krishna. So Prabhupada is just like immersed in that association. And he left. He left. And he didn't become diminished in his Krishna consciousness yet. He left to do service for a spiritual master. And so he left where there was just this super abundant, deep, amazing Krishna conscious association. And he left to a place where there's no association, right? He went to the West, so there's no associations, no market for Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay. But then so like Srila Prabhupada went for Boston Harbor. Then let's say when Srila Prabhupada's coming into New York on the Jaladuta after having 2 heart attacks on the ship. He's not seeing what it's like, oh, there's 13 million people in the New York metropolitan area and there's no devotees. No, Prabhupada's not seeing that way. He's saying everyone here in America is a devotee. Everyone in Europe's a devotee. They've just forgotten. And I'm here to be an instrument for Krishna and my spiritual master to awaken their Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada's so strong in his Krishna consciousness, he went to where there's quote no association. And he's creating association because the osmosis is so strong in that way. And so so we don't want to neglect association, and that's why one reason why we host these programs. And in the line of Srila Prabhupada, we're enthusiastic to create association. So thank you, Anandini. Thanks for your sharing.
I have another comment, something
Yes.
else appreciated about your class, like the difference between receiving association and giving association.
Yeah.
And I find that so enlightening to practically look in my life. Where am I going?
Yeah.
What's surrounding, knowing that I'll be influenced, and especially like when I'm not feeling very strong
Yeah.
in my connection to Srila Prabhupada and Krishna, to be careful where I go,
Yeah.
to notice when the osmosis is happening the other way.
Yeah. Yeah.
I find that very practical and helpful.
Thanks for that. It's part of like being conscious in like to kind of know our strengths and our shortcomings, and like if I go into that association, I'll probably become disheartened and maybe bewildered. So let me be conscious whether it's this social event or this internet link. Let me be conscious of myself and how that association will affect me, and will it be helpful for me moving forward in the highest purpose of my life.
Yes, and also it's kind of a measurement of my stability or steadiness in consciousness. And I mean, personally, I want to improve. I want to become strong, that you know, no matter what the surrounding is, I can stay rooted in my consciousness, or
Yeah.
endeavor for Krishna consciousness.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Anandini. Yes. Yeah, we don't want to imitate Srila Prabhupada. Same time, we want to follow his example and get stronger and stronger, such that maybe associations I would have gone in maybe a year or 20 years ago, I would just become completely disturbed and agitated and forgetful and lose my sattvic consciousness, lose my Krishna consciousness. Now I can go to the same association and maybe not just hold neutral osmosis, but actually inspire a consciousness, an environment of self-realization. That's a gauge of my advancement.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Naresh, yes.
No, yeah, I second what all she said. You know, the association. Thank you for giving us this association, hosting this. It's very important, and to lead this spiritual path. And follow up on that earlier thing which you explained about Paramatma, soul leaving the body and entering into the another body.
Yeah.
Right. At that time, what happens to this Paramatma? The Atma enters into the other body, new body.
Yeah.
The Paramatma also follows with that Atma, or Paramatma commits with something else.
Thanks for your question. Well, so my understanding from Srila Prabhupada's teachings is that Paramatma stays with us through our long sojourn, what is long for most of us in material existence, through all the species and planetary systems. Krishna says, Bhoktram Yagatapsam Sarvalokameshram Suridam Sarvabhutanam Gyatmamam Shanti Vichati. So Krishna says, Suridam Sarvabhutanam, he's the best friend of all living entities. So one way he's the best friend, that wherever we go and however foolish we are and however much we disregard Krishna and we just act in ways that are envious of ourselves and self-sabotaging, we take birth as a hog in mud or as an amoeba or whatever we do, however degrading, Krishna's following us as Paramatma through the whole sojourn of material existence, always giving us wise advice to turn towards him, turn towards self-realization. And if we ignore it, disregard it, as our best friend, he's always there. He's facilitating our desires, even if they're wicked desires. He'll facilitate them to give us an experience, to help us turn towards him. So when the soul leaves the body, Paramatma follows us to the next material body until the soul's completely pure, and then is no longer forced to take a material body. That's my understanding.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Naresh.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
What you just said about facilitating our desires, question popped up, which is Krishna consciousness, we get a higher taste.
Yeah.
And our desires evolve and they change. And
yeah,
I mean, even to the extent that someone is very enmeshed in the material world, I think through experience, most people's tastes, they change and they evolve.
Yeah.
It occurs to me the importance of experience. And then my question goes with kind of along the lines of some of the questions yesterday during the program, and people asking what they should follow when they have a inclination towards something.
Yeah.
And then honest observation and inquiry of, I guess, where is the desire coming from? Is it coming from ego self?
Right.
So within a person's path, if they have a desire to be a world-renowned breeder of hamsters, like whatever,
Whatever it is, yeah.
and that's their highest, like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of juice there for them.
Sure.
It seems like it would be integrity, even if it doesn't make sense to other people. You know what I mean? As long as it's not hurting anyone. I don't know how to explain what I'm trying to say. That we should follow our desires because there's something there for us to learn. There's a reason why we're desiring it. Does that?
All right. Well, thanks for sharing about Tina Rosa. And again, yeah, Josie, who will be in the advanced course in August. Josie asked that very intelligent question, similar to what you're asking, and then my response gets to, it's helpful to make more distinctions. Okay, sometimes we're using the language. Okay, what's our deepest voice, and what's our loudest voice? So our deepest voice is not always our loudest voice. In conditioned life, by definition, it's not. Krishna says to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, Machita sarvadurgani mat prasadat tavishyasi atacha tramahankaram vinoshasi nashoshasi vinankshyasi. Krishna says if you listen to the loudest voice, material ego, material mind, the senses, you're going to be lost in the material ocean. And if you listen to the Paramatma, the deepest voice, then you're liberated. Then you're liberated. So we want to be conscious of all the voices. As far as where we give our power to act, and then that's important to make distinctions. Just I gave the example yesterday, and honestly, resonated with that example. So let's say I'm on my computer doing correspondence, and an email comes in that just like causes me distress and anxiety. I can't believe, oh my God. So then I immediately have a desire to leave the computer and go to the refrigerator. The solution is emotional eating. I know it. Okay. I just need to forget about that. Okay. So I have a desire to go to the refrigerator at least 10 times a day. So I need to listen to that because that's spiritual. Well, that's probably coming from the belly, the mind's anxiety that wants to numb and escape, not face reality. So we want to be conscious of all desires, of the senses, of the ego, we want to be conscious of it. And as far as where we give our power, that's going to depend on our relationship with life purpose. So let's say if our life purpose is self-realization and Krishna consciousness, okay, then that when the alarm rings at 3:30 a.m., okay, the mind is okay, sleep till noon. That's what you need to do, sleep till noon. But then, okay, it's going to be uncomfortable, but I'm going to get up and then chant and discuss Bhagavatam with enthusiastic Prabhus. Okay, because let me give power to that desire. Because here's the thing. Because we hear a lot about to do what you feel. That's really what's spiritual. To do that's what's natural. Do what you feel. So what is this you? Is the you the tongue, the belly, the genitals? What is, or is it the spirit soul? So that's an important distinction. Also, you do what's natural. Just do what's natural. Don't restrain. Here's the thing: for spiritual beings having a human experience, it's natural to do austerity, to voluntarily choose to give up an immediate gratification, the loudest desire, for a longer term eternal benefit. Now, all of that in the context of we don't want to pull the reins too tight. So maybe maybe if I was completely realized soul, I would never eat sweets, or I would only sleep 2 hours per day. So let me do that. No, it's important to remain happy and enthusiastic and jolly, that we give enough rein to the horses. So yeah, who is it that's desiring? Is it the tongue, the belly? Is it that ego desire for revenge against someone who I think's my enemy? Okay, is that going to really serve the higher purpose? So the deepest desire, that's the voice of the super soul. And this whole process of bhakti yoga is to support ourselves to have a clear, static, free reception, a reception to the voice of Supersoul. So that's the desire for spiritual life we want to give power to.
When you give the example of emotional eating,
Yeah.
And earlier you said something that really rung with me about if we find the root, then we can water it.
Yeah.
And so in a case like that, what I think is that there is a desire that's deeper than the desire for food. We market with food because we desire comfort or something like that, right? It's a coping mechanism.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's not the true desire. The true desire is somewhere else, and if we can find that root, we can water it.
Yeah. Probably we're looking for spiritual love, but then we're feeling empty, so we're seeking it in spending money I don't need to spend, or emotional eating. We're seeking for that love of Krishna, that happiness that will never be crushed by time.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Rosa. Anandini.
Yeah, I have a question about the purport, but now listening to you and Rosa, I have two questions.
Okay.
So if the deepest desire is Paramatma's voice,
Yeah.
then is the soul's original only desire to follow Paramatma's voice?
Yeah, that's the original consciousness. Yes,
So
that's
the soul doesn't have any desire other than that?
yes. The soul has free will. The soul has free will, and in our original consciousness, we choose to use our free will to please Krishna. Yeah. So in that original state, we want to use our senses and use our whole being to please Krishna. And the Paramatma is the voice of Krishna in this world.
Okay, so that makes it very simple.
Yeah. And the external representation of Paramatma is Srila Prabhupada. The pure devotee is, so like anything from Srila Prabhupada, his books, his vibrations, his classes, anything from Srila Prabhupada, that's the external representation of Super Soul. Because to the extent we're in conditioned life, we're not that much in touch with Super Soul. We're all confused, the voice of Super Soul with my own mind, or like that. So Srila Prabhupada, okay, that's the voice of Super Soul.
Thank you. And I think it relates to the other question, something that stood out for me in the purport. The third sentence. Because that's the Purus, because they were not attached to the impersonal Brahman or the localized Paramatma, but were directly attached to Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. They were worthy to render service to the Lord and his pure devotees.
Yeah, thanks for that.
It stood out for me, like this differentiation. So the Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, for me, my understanding is, or till now was, it's all the same.
It's all the same, and there are distinctions.
Yes, so here there's these distinctions of, okay, that not attached to Brahman, not attached to Paramatma, but directly attached to Bhagavan. And yeah, I'm just curious how this is possible, or why? Like if they're attached to Bhagavan, aren't they also attached to Paramatma and Brahman? Or is it this complete freedom when the spirit soul leaves the material realm, it becomes it leaves Paramatma?
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Anandini. In hearing your question, Anandini, I'm reminded of a text from the Brahma Samhita. The text is Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadaiva Vidayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shamma Sundaram Achintya Gunasvarupam Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Lord Brahma, he sings, I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is Shama Sundar, Krishna himself, possessing innumerable transcendental attributes, and whom the pure devotees see in their heart of hearts with the eyes of devotion tinged with the salve of love. So generally, we think of Paramatma as like this form, right, on the back of this Bhagavatam volume, because the four-handed form. At the same time, Krishna is not limited in how he can appear as Paramatma. So for the pure devotees, he appears in his Shama Sundar form, Shamam Jibanga Lalita Niyata Prakasham. His eternal threefold bending form of Shama Sundar is eternally manifest in the heart of the pure devotees. So because there are many approaches to yoga where they do focus on Paramatma to get mystic powers, or with some conception that they will become the super soul. So I think Prabhupada's referring to that the devotee is attached to Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan or Gokula Vrindavan. So that's the form of the absolute that the devotees are attached to. Whereas there are some yogis who get attached to the form, Paramatma form, which is wonderful. It's like there's transcendence to material desires. In one sense, it's a wonderful spiritual achievement. At the same time, Maitreya is appreciating Vidura because he's not attached to that four-hand Paramatma form. He's attached to Krishna. So I think that's what Prabhupada's getting at there.
So in a sense, for the pure devotees in Vrindavan, like the eternally liberated devotees, Paramatma and Brahman are irrelevant.
Yeah.
And yet for us, they are very important.
Yeah. We don't want to deprecate Brahman and Paramatma realization. And we don't want to deprecate that. And at the same time, we don't want to make that our ultimate goal. Just what you said, Anandini. There's the pastime in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna book, where at some point the gopis are in the forest of Vrindavan. They're searching for Krishna, kind of with mad, desperate love for Krishna. And they're right there in the forest. The Narayan form appears, the four-armed Narayan form. And the gopis understand this is Narayan, the personality of Godhead. But they were not caring. So like Narayan's there and they say, oh, Narayan, have you seen Krishna? So it wasn't just, no, they were very respectful. Have you seen Krishna? So they're just attached to that form. Yeah. So of course, we want to follow the gopis in attachment to Krishna, and we don't want to imitate. So like we see a Narayan form, a Paramatma form, we don't want to be negligent, but the gopis' negligence were out of deep love for Shama Sundar Krishna. Our negligence might just be due to material desire, so that's a big difference. Any other comments or questions? Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Srila Prabhupada ki. Hare Krishna. Thank you for your association.